Hi, this is Jason Druss. I am a Principal Product Marketing Manager here on the Adobe Premiere team, and we are here today to talk about styles and modules in the all-new color mode in Adobe Premiere Beta. I'm really excited to talk to you about styles and modules today. They are one of the biggest creative unlocks for video editors, making color mode accessible for everyone, whether you are a highly advanced veteran professional when it comes to video editing, or whether you are just getting started with video editing and professional color grading. Let's start by talking about what makes styles so different and unique. One of the hardest, out-of-reach things for video editors when it comes to color grading is adding one-click cinematic looks. Take it from me, myself, before I joined the Adobe Premiere team, I was a professional film colorist for 15 years. I was a senior colorist at Warner Brothers Discovery, a colorist at NFL Films, and had my own color boutique in Philadelphia called Good Grades for a number of years. Manipulating advanced contrast curves to build authentic film density, creating cinematic looks, and just turning your imagination into a physical reality can be one of the hardest parts of color grading for video editors. Our new system of styles and modules is designed to get you there not only faster than ever, but more creatively than ever. What if you could create any kind of creative look you want to and actually understood the choices you were making to mold and shape these styles and looks as you were actually working? This is what styles and modules provide for all video editors. Now, the way we're used to thinking about one-click cinematic looks for video editing is applying lookup tables, or LUTs, to our shots. Now, don't get me wrong, LUTs are fully supported in color mode and always will be. If you have a creative LUT that you want to add to any project to get you that cinematic look that you like and that you value, you can go to any operation, whether it is a clip operation, a group, or a sequence operation, and you can choose to add an adjustment, a style, or a LUT to anything you want. But today we will be focusing on styles. So now let's dive into what styles are and how they work. At the sequence level, I am going to choose to click on sequence style here. If I want to add another one, I can add a sequence style here whenever I want to. When you click on a style, one thing you might notice is that the core color controls that we normally surface when you're making an adjustment disappear. That's because styles and modules come with a completely different user experience and a completely different user interface. Let's go ahead and click on Style Presets. When I click on Style Presets here, I'm met with this modal interface that pops up that allows me to choose the style that I want to. Now, before we get into Style Presets, let's first talk about modules. It's very important to understand how modules are and how they work before we get into the Style Presets. So I'm going to click over from Style Presets here to Style Modules. Modules are individual color effects that do one specific thing very well. Color and contrast, color shift, and detail are very similar modules to the core controls that you will see in the core adjustment tools. The unique modules that we have at the time of this recording in early April 2026 are Contrast Kit, Film Color, and Flare. We will be adding more modules as they become available in Premiere Beta and then in Premiere GA once color mode shifts. Modules are a new system that we will continually add to, and again, like we said before, these are individual unique color effects. It's one thing to add a cinematic look to your image, like you get when you add a LUT, but when you're adding a look to your image, we wanted to break it down and think about what is it that you're actually trying to achieve with your clips, your groups, and your sequences. If you want to add a cinematic look, let's break that down and think about what actually is a cinematic look. As a longtime professional film colorist, I can tell you that if a client asks me to create a bleach bypass look, or a California sun-kissed look, or a very teal and orange classic cinema look that we're all used to, as a colorist, I know how to build that, one brick, one layer, and one step at a time. Again, the way editors have been doing this for many, many years is through using LUTs, applying them at a clip-by-clip basis or at an adjustment layer basis. What we wanted to do is make not only the act of applying a cinematic look, building one from scratch, we wanted to make that accessible to every video editor on the planet, and that's what we've done. So if I wanted to create my own custom style, I could choose to add color and contrast, contrast kit, flare, or film color together and make my own unique style from scratch. We will get into that in a second. At first, what we're going to do is select a style preset. Now, instead of the ones that ship with Premiere, I'm going to choose one of the ones that I've made myself. We can choose between Too Sun Too Furious, Jurassic Kodak, Saving Private Bleach Bypass. Let's go with California Sun-Kissed. I like this one a lot. Let's go ahead and click done. This is a really warm, dusty, kind of orange teal kind of look that leans more towards yellow with really vibrant accentuated blues. As you can see, now that I've applied the California Sun-Kissed style to my sequence, it's active on every single clip in the timeline. Let's go to this clip right here. You can see this sequence is made of 4 modules: film color, contrast kit, flare, and color contrast. What I did is I color graded each and every one of these modules, and then I saved this as a custom style. Let's first start with contrast kit. What contrast kit does is it allows us to make very, very subtle, accentuated contrast density curves. When a lot of editors are trying to actually recreate the film look or a cinematic look, what colorists know is that what creates the film look is actually, after many years and years of training, developing an extremely complex, nuanced understanding of how film chemical density actually looks inside of a clip by very carefully controlling our contrast curves. It took me personally 5 or 6 years to really truly understand, as a full-time working professional, how to quickly create these looks from scratch. But for video editors, we strongly felt on the Premiere team that this kind of workflow and this kind of creative expression should be accessible to everyone. So what the compression tool does is, by simply moving my mouse up, down, left, and right, I can create extremely nuanced, subtle, contrast density curves that really simulate and emulate what you would want to do if you wanted to create a custom film look from scratch. Now, I like what I have here, but it's a little too crunchy and it's a little too contrasted, because as we all know, if you want to make a real film look, film tends to fall off very low in the highlights, around 700 or 800 IRE up on our scopes. You'll notice a lot of really dense shadows, a lot of really dense highlights, and a lot of fluffiness in the mid-range of the clip. So what we're going to do now is go to my new range control inside of Contrast Kit. And one of the coolest things to understand about modules and styles is that every single control in every single module has a unique heads-up display. And these heads-up displays are designed in order to give you not only control, but real-time feedback so that you understand the movements that you're making as you move them. And this is why we say, if you're new to color grading, color mode is going to help teach you how to be a better editor and colorist as you use it. And if you are an advanced veteran C Pro who has been editing and color grading for years, color mode is going to help you get to your desired result a lot faster with a lot more flexibility and a lot more creativity. So let's actually go ahead and reset range from scratch. Ouch, that's really crunchy. Let's go ahead and correct this right now. Let's click on range. What range allows me to do if I move my mouse down is it's going to allow me to actually clip where ultimate black and ultimate white is. And then what I can do is move the entire range up and down as I define. So I'll go up and I'll stretch this out. I'll go down and I'll compress all of the contrast and control where ultimate white and ultimate black is. And then if I move my mouse left and right, I can move everything up and down together just like that. I don't want to clip any shadows. Let's just bring that up a little bit. I'm clipping a few shadows, but don't worry, we're going to cover that in just a second with the flare module. But now look at that, right? Let's actually go in and zoom into this image here. I'm barely clipping my shadows. We're going to fix that in a second. I'm not clipping any highlights. And look at that nice contrast density between the shadows, the midtones, and the highlights. Look at the texture and the color of the bright parts of the car. This is a very filmic looking image, and I was able to achieve it in just a few clicks with a little bit of custom adjustment. Now, the Flare module is another one of my favorites. Let's close down Contrast Kit and open up Flare. Flare is a very sophisticated knee tool that's going to allow me to have very, very nuanced creative control over my shadows and only my shadows. If I don't want any clip shadows whatsoever, all I need to do is move this up a little bit, and there we go. Now we're saved. Now no shadows are clipping at all. And I can go to slope and get a direct, very, very advanced, nuanced Bezier curve by moving my mouse up, down, left, and right over the curves of my shadows. A lot of people ask and say, hey, I'm using color mode. Where are my curves? Pry my curves from my cold, dead hands. And to that we say, hey, listen. The curves are all there, man. The curves are all there. All we did is surface them in a way that get you to your desired result much faster without you having to click 80, 90 tiny little curve dots across your tools by yourself and making them from scratch. We set you up, whether it's through knee tools, whether it's through highlight tools, whether it's through contrast density curves, whether it's through simply utilizing zones in the core adjustment controls, and selecting and bringing up and down different zones. They're all curves. All the curves are there. Anyway, before I rabbit hole too deep, let's talk about my absolute favorite module. Let's talk about film color. Now, there are a lot of film emulation tools out there. I've used them all. I can genuinely say film color is my favorite film emulation tool I've ever used. Between negative film stocks and print film stocks, we have over 90 film emulation options for you that you can customize and choose between. Let's change to Fuji Eternal 500. That's giving me more of a cool green vibe. Let's change our print film stock. That's giving me a little bit more magenta in the highlights. I'm kind of digging it. Let's try some of the Kodak ones down here. That's cool. That's giving me more of like a Spielbergian kind of like really warm greenish kind of tone, and I'm digging it. Now what we can do is adjust a lot of parameters around here. So let's go ahead and adjust strength. The cool thing about strength is that if I move my mouse up and down, I will increase and decrease the general strength of the film stock. If I move my mouse over to the left, you can see that little ball moving over there. What I'm doing is I'm actually keeping the film color and ditching the film contrast. And if I move my mouse all the way to the right, I'm keeping the film contrast and ditching the film color. You see these advanced movements that we're able to build in by simply moving your mouse up, down, left, and right? This is making authentic film emulation and recreation possible for video editors without understanding extremely, extremely complex and nuanced color science or color grading tricks. Now, one of the ways I like to think about this, I'm just going to go ahead and adjust mid-tone protection, which is going to give me some really cool mid-tone contrast adjustments while I do this. I love playing guitar. I got some guitars behind me right there. I can't read music at all. Like, I'm not good at reading music. I could sight read a little bit when I was in high school in jazz band, but man, I'm telling you, I can't really read music. Does that mean I shouldn't know how to play guitar, that I don't deserve to play guitar because I don't know how to read sheet music? I don't buy that for 1 second. Plenty of the world's most talented musicians and even untalented musicians like myself know how to play instruments without knowing how to read music. I don't believe that you shouldn't have access to build amazing film looks from scratch just because you haven't spent 10,000 hours in deep, full-time practice obsessing over the deep, dark, mysterious arts of color grading. I think you should have access by being able to express yourself creatively by moving up, down, left, right with these nuanced tools that help you actually understand what you're doing as you're doing it. What I can do is choose highlight protection here. Highlight protection is going to allow me to save some of my highlights, but I don't really need much of that right now because I'm not really clipping anything. I can change the balance of my highlights a little bit warmer, and I'll go ahead and cheat that to be a little bit more orange, just a skosh, just a pinch. I can also go into shadow protection, which is another way if I move up, we can lift all of our shadows up and ensure that we are not clipping shadows. This is a great time to talk about, again, like the main differentiation part of me between using a LUT, using a style, or a module. A LUT is a hard destructive filter. It's really, really hard, if not impossible, to tweak or edit them. Therefore, we frequently find ourselves in positions or places where the LUT looks great on half of your stuff and looks like garbage on the second half of your stuff. It's very, very frequent that you end up with adjustment layer spaghetti, trying to manage which LUT is on top of what kind of a clip. And if you have a LUT, you have to have 12 different versions of that LUT to make sure you got the right LUT for the Sony S log, the right LUT for Red, the right log for Panasonic and Canon footage, etc., etc., etc. With styles, we make it super simple at the sequence level, the custom group level, or the clip level to add the adjustments that you need and deeply customize. So between film color, contrast kit, flare, and color and contrast, and what I'm actually going to do here is just take my exposure and just bring my exposure a little bit further up here, and then I'm going to slightly reduce global contrast and move my pivot to the right a little bit to just protect my highlights a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit warmer and a little bit greener while we're at it. Let's lean into the green. Let's go in about, let's lean, no, I don't want to lean into the green that much. Let's go ahead and undo and reset that right there. And let's just go ahead and desat a little bit. Yeah, man, I'm digging that. Let's play this across the timeline and see what we're working with here. Very cool. Knowing that at any time I can apply this style at the sequence level, and I can create a custom group, and I can create a clip, as we'll go into deeper in the operations portion of the class if we haven't gone over that already. And I can ride my adjustments on this and make sure everything matches across my whole sequence. I dig this style. I'm going to keep this style. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to save this style. If I end up using a preset or building a style from scratch with my custom modules, and I decide that I want to save this style for use later, all I have to do is go over here and click Save Preset. Now, instead of calling this California Sunkissed, I'm going to call this, what should we call this one? I'm going to call this one Spielbergian 2020s. Because this look kind of reminds me of like what you might see in a Spielberg movie in his later work. Save that. Now, anytime I go to create a new style, if I go to add sequence style again right here, you'll see Spielbergian 2020s. There we go, and I can add that anytime I want to. Again, like it's not working very well on this one clip, so I'm just going to go ahead at the clip level. I'm going to raise the exposure a little bit. I'm going to go to my highlights, bring my highlights down a little bit, and just it's a little too green on this clip, so I'm just going to make it a little bit more. There we go. Good enough for union work. Very cool. And if I wanted to dive deep in this, I can dive as deep as I want. Again, real quick, let's just make a real quick custom group right here. Let's go into exposure. Let's lift that up a little bit. Much better. There we go. Dig into it however you want. That's how you make styles. That's how you use modules in color mode. Have a great time. Happy editing, happy grading. Be sure to check out our helpX documentation. Every single little button, every right click, every single little trick or thing you need to know, any question you have, it is all there in the documentation. So happy editing, happy grading. We'll see you next time.